Welcome to Philosopher Mindful, the channel where we explore the deep forces shaping your thoughts, choices, and inner life. You're not lazy, you're not unmotivated, but still, you fail. You miss the deadline. You avoid the opportunity. You let the door close before you walk through it. Why? Why do we sabotage the very things we say we want? Today, we dive beneath the surface, into the unconscious, the part of your mind you don't see but that sees everything. We turn to Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, who revealed that behind your conscious decisions lies a hidden world of desire and conflict, and to Carl Jung, who showed us that the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, isn't just darkness, it's power waiting to be reclaimed. In this journey, we'll uncover how your inner world might be the real source of your struggle. Not your habits, not your schedule, but you, or rather the parts of you that you've buried. Let's begin. 1. The battlefield within, Freud's structure of the mind. Let's start with a simple idea that Sigmund Freud proposed. Your mind is not one voice. It's a battlefield. Freud broke the mind into 3 key players, the ego, and the superego, each one pulling in different directions, each one speaking a different language. The ID is ancient. It's the raw, instinctive part of you. It wants what it wants: pleasure, comfort, and power, now. It doesn't care about consequences. It's the voice that says, skip the work, eat the cake, sleep in, just feel good. Then there's the superego, the voice of society, parents, teachers, and culture. It whispers rules and morality. You should be better. You should work harder. You must not fail. It holds shame, guilt, and judgment. And between them stands the ego, you, the conscious self, trying to make peace, trying to balance impulse and morality, pleasure and responsibility. Here's the twist. When these parts clash too hard, the ego panics. It defends itself, not with logic, but with avoidance. You forget the interview. You procrastinate. You miss the call. You sabotage your own success, not because you want to fail, but because your ego is under siege. This is why motivation alone isn't enough. You can write your goals, visualize your future, set 10 alarms. But if your inner world is at war, no strategy will save you. Self-sabotage isn't weakness. It's the symptom of a deeper conflict, a mind trying to protect itself from itself. 2. The shadow in the mirror. Carl Jung's unconscious. If Freud gave us the battlefield, Carl Jung gave us the mirror. Jung believed that within every person is a shadow, the hidden side of the self, made up of everything you deny, reject, or fear in yourself. Not just darkness, not just evil, but also power, creativity, ambition, even joy, repressed because they didn't fit the version of you the world wanted. You're told as the child, don't be too loud, don't be selfish, don't be angry, and so you comply. You push those parts into the basement of your mind. That basement becomes your shadow. But here's the problem. The shadow doesn't die. It waits. It leaks. It acts out. Not in daylight, but in sabotage. It's the voice that tells you to blow up your relationship. The sudden fear when success is near. The accidental mess-ups that always happen right before the breakthrough. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because your shadow is trying to protect you from being someone you haven't learned to accept. Jung sighed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. and you will call it fate. That's not poetry. That's a warning, because when you don't face the shadow, you become its puppet. You act like you're free, but you're moving on strings you don't see. But when you confront it, when you integrate it, you stop running. You reclaim what you lost. You become whole. That's not easy. It's not comfortable, but it's the beginning of real freedom. 3. Your dreams. Know the truth. Let's now step deeper into the territory of the unconscious, the world where your hidden self speaks in riddles, metaphors, and symbols. Sigmund Freud believed dreams are not just nonsense or nightly static. They are disguised truths, direct messages from the unconscious. They bypass the censorship of the waking mind and reveal what we're too afraid or too conditioned to face in daylight. Dreams as royal roads. Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. Why? Because in dreams, the walls come down. The id, that primal voice within you, finally gets a stage. The ego, which guards your sanity by filtering thoughts, is asleep, and the superego, your inner critic, loses control. Imagine a courtroom. By day, the judge, the ego, keeps things orderly, but at night the doors swing open and the witnesses speak freely. The criminal, the lover, the child, you. They tell their truth, but in code. Let's say you dream of missing a flight. Sounds simple, right? But look closer. What were you rushing toward? Who made you late? What did the plane represent? Maybe that flight is your ambition, and you're missing it not because of bad luck, but because part of you doesn't want to leave the ground. Your dream didn't come from nowhere. It came from you. Slips and mistakes are clues. Now let's move from dreams to the waking world. Have you ever said something you didn't mean to say? Freud called these parapraxes what we now call Freudian slips. But they're not random. Slip is the unconscious interrupting your performance. You call your boss Mom. You wish someone happy divorce instead of happy anniversary. You accidentally send the wrong email. Behind each slip is a tension, a truth trying to break through. Freud argued that the unconscious doesn't stay buried. It finds cracks in your behavior. It speaks in silence, in forgetfulness, in the way your hand lingers too long, or your eyes avoid someone's gaze. Self-sabotage isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. You don't study, so you have an excuse to fail. You ghost the person you like, so they can't reject you. You arrive late to the job interview, blaming traffic, when deep down, you're terrified of change. These acts aren't conscious. You don't plan them, but they come from within, from fear, from past wounds, from a story your unconscious keeps repeating. Repetition, compulsion, reliving the wound. Freud noticed a pattern in his patients. They would keep making the same mistakes, choosing the same kinds of toxic partners, and sabotaging happiness in familiar ways. Why? Because of something he called repetition compulsion. The mind repeats what it doesn't resolve. Like a child replaying a scene with dolls, we replay trauma with people, with careers, and with ourselves, not to suffer, but to gain mastery, to finally win the game we once lost. But this time, it doesn't work. It leads to more pain. You may say, why do I always attract people who hurt me? And the answer, hard as it sounds, might be because part of you seeks the familiar wound, hoping to heal it. Jung's amplification, dreams and archetypes. Carl Jung took a different, yet complementary approach. For Jung, dreams are not just personal, they're archetypal. They're the voice of the collective unconscious, the shared myths of humanity. In a dream, you might meet a wise old man, or fall into a dark cave, or be chased by a beast. These aren't random. They are symbols. The wise old man may be your inner guide. The cave is the descent into the self. The beast is your shadow. Jung called this process amplification, finding the symbolic resonance of dream elements. A dream is not a riddle with one answer. It's a mirror, showing you what you need to face. Integration versus suppression. Here's where it gets practical. What do you do with all this? You start by listening, by paying attention to your patterns, your slips, and your dreams. When you dream of falling, don't brush it off. Ask, where in life do I feel unstable? When you forget a deadline, ask, what does success really mean to me? Do I fear its cost? When you avoid someone you care about, ask, what part of myself do I see in them that I'm afraid of? This is shadow work, not to punish yourself, but to integrate. You are not your failure. You're not your fear. But those parts of you are real. They have voices. They have wisdom. And if you don't listen, they scream. But if you listen, something incredible happens. The dream stops haunting you. The sabotage stops repeating. Because the message has been received, you are now conscious. And consciousness gives you choice. Consciousness as liberation. Freud gave us the map. Jung gave us the symbols. But it's your job to walk the path. You may have sabotaged your success. You may still be doing it. But what if your failure wasn't failure? What if it was a signal, a message from your unconscious saying this isn't the real you? Maybe you feared success, not because you can't handle it, but because deep down, success meant becoming someone you don't recognize. Your unconscious doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to protect you from repeating the pain of your past, from becoming a lie. But now you know. Now you've seen the signs, the symbols and the patterns. What you do next, that's your freedom. 4. Why we fear success. We all want to succeed, don't we? We set goals, chase ambitions, and visualize the dream life. But often just when things begin to work out, we hesitate, we slow down, we make mistakes, or we walk away. And we ask ourselves, why? Is it fear of failure? Sometimes. But more often, the truth is harder to admit. We're afraid of success, not because we don't want it, but because of what success demands from us. Change, exposure, responsibility, and transformation. This fear doesn't live in the conscious mind. It lives deep in the unconscious, in the stories we carry, in the wounds we've never healed. In this chapter, we'll uncover the hidden roots of this fear and why confronting it may be the most liberating move of your life. The weight of becoming. Someone new success is not just a result. It's a shift in identity. When you succeed, you are no longer who you were. You can't hide behind the comfort of potential. You must become someone who shows up. That transformation threatens the self you've always known. Even if that self was unhappy, it was familiar. And the unconscious mind favors the familiar over the unknown, even when the familiar causes pain. The question that haunts us isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I succeed and lose who I am? The isolation of excellence. With success comes distance. You outgrow the people who only knew you as average. Your achievements separate you from your peers, and your unconscious knows it. It whispers, They'll think you've changed. You'll be alone at the top. They'll resent your success. So you self-sabotage, not because you don't want success, but because you want connection. You want to stay loved, accepted, and familiar. And if success threatens that, you'll choose belonging over progress. Internalized beliefs and hidden guilt. Some of us grew up in environments where success was shamed. Don't brag. Don't think you're better than others. Stay humble. These messages become unconscious scripts. When you begin to rise, they play like alarms. You're doing too much. Who do you think you are? You'll be punished for standing out. The unconscious links success with guilt, so you unconsciously punish yourself to balance the scale. The responsibility trap success brings visibility, expectations, standards. When you succeed, people notice. They expect more, and with that comes the fear. What if I can't keep it up? What if I disappoint them? What if I become a fraud? This is imposter syndrome, but deeper. It's not just feeling unworthy. It's the unconscious avoiding the responsibility that success brings, because responsibility means pressure, and pressure threatens the ego. So instead, the unconscious sabotages the rise. Because if you never rise, you never have to fall. Shadow and success. Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, the repressed parts of the self, plays a massive role in fear of success. Often the traits required for success, ambition, assertiveness, power, are part of our shadow. We were taught they're too much, so we buried them, but success demands their resurrection. To rise, you must reclaim the very traits you once rejected. This creates an internal conflict. Part of you wants to succeed. Another part fears becoming the person you were told not to be. And if that second part is louder, you'll pull back. Freud's drive. Theory and the fear of completion. Freud spoke of two drives. Eros, the drive to grow, connect, create. Thanatos, the drive towards stillness, death, inertia. Fear of success is the collision point of these drives. Eros pulls you toward greatness. Thanatos whispers, stay where it's safe, stop, don't try. When the fear of exposure, judgment, and transformation activates Thanatos, you sabotage Eros. You stall your progress. You return to inertia, not because you failed, but because you feared what success would unleash. Real examples of success sabotage. A writer finishes a manuscript, but never sends it to publishers. An entrepreneur gains traction, but forgets to file legal documents. A student with top grades fails the final class. These aren't accidents. They're unconscious exits, ways to escape success before it changes everything. Because success always changes everything. Success in the death of the old self. To succeed is to kill the comfort of who you used to be. It's the death of thestory. I'm trying. I'm almost there. One day, once you succeed, you can't hide in the becoming. You've become, and that demands a new narrative, a new identity. And new identities require grief. So your unconscious clings to the old story, not because it's true, but because it's safe. And safe feels like home. The fear beneath the fear. At the core of fear of success is this terrifying question. What if I'm as powerful as I think I am? If that's true, then every excuse falls away, every deflection, every blame, every delay, because now you're no longer a victim of life, you're a co-creator. That level of responsibility isn't easy. It's sacred, it's heavy, and some part of you may fear holding it. So the fear of success isn't shallow, it's existential. It's not about the paycheck or the applause. It's about who you must become to earn it, and whether you're ready to meet that version of yourself. Rewriting the script. The only way to stop fearing success is to stop fearing transformation. You are not betraying your past self by growing. You are honoring them. You are not abandoning others by rising. You're showing them it's possible. You are not arrogant for shining. You are brave for stepping into the light. Your unconscious needs reassurance. It needs new messages. I am safe to succeed. I don't have to choose between love and growth. Success doesn't make me less. It makes me more of who I really am. Affirmations work when they're felt, not forced, when they speak to the wounded part with compassion. Integration is the answer. Carl Jung believed in individuation, the process of integrating all parts of the self, including the shadow. To stop fearing success, you must integrate the shadow, reclaim the ambition, the desire, the fire. That doesn't mean becoming ruthless. It means becoming whole. You don't lose yourself in success. You find yourself in a version that was always waiting beneath the fear. The unconscious is not your enemy. It's your protector. But protection can become prison. When you listen to your fear of success, you can begin to speak back, to show that growth is not danger, that transformation is not a loss, it's evolution. Final words, success is not something you chase, it's something you allow. When you stop fearing what you might become, you open the door to becoming it. And maybe then, success won't feel like a threat. It'll feel like coming home to a self you always sensed, but were too afraid to meet. Not anymore. 5. Embracing the inner rebel. There's a voice inside you, one you've been trained to silence. It doesn't follow rules. It doesn't wait for permission. It speaks in desire, defiance, and fire. This is your inner rebel. But most of us bury it. We conform, we compromise. We choose peace over passion, approval over authenticity. In this chapter, we explore why embracing the rebel is essential to breaking the cycle of self-sabotage, and why your rebellion might be the most honest part of who you are. The rebellion within from childhood. We are shaped by systems, family, school, religion, society. Each one comes with expectations. Be polite, follow the rules, don't stand out. These rules may protect us, but they also tame us. They carve us into versions that are acceptable, but often not authentic. Carl Jung warned that what we repress doesn't disappear, it hides. It becomes the shadow, and deep within that shadow lives the rebel, the voice that says, "This isn't who I am. I want something different. I won't live a life of quiet desperation." To embrace this voice is not to become reckless. It's to become real. Freud's id and the unleashed drive. Freud described the id as the seat of primal instincts, raw desire, unfiltered by norms. While unchecked, ID can lead to chaos. A completely suppressed ID leads to lifelessness. Your inner rebel is often powered by this raw energy. It wants more, not just pleasure, but truth, movement, liberation. To deny it is to deny life itself. To embrace it with awareness is to ignite transformation. The cultural fear of the rebel society doesn't reward rebellion. It rewards predictability. Rebels are seen as threats, not because they're wrong, but because they disrupt comfort. Think of the historical rebels: Socrates, condemned for corrupting youth; Nietzsche, dismissed as mad; Malcolm X, vilified for his truth. Rebels challenge the stories we cling to, and that makes them dangerous, but also necessary. Your personal rebellion may not be political. It might be quitting a job, ending a toxic relationship, pursuing art over money, but it's rebellion just the same, because it refuses the script, the cost of repression. When you suppress your rebel, you don't become safer. You become stuck. Repression breeds resentment. It shows up as depression, anxiety, fatigue, not because you're weak, but because you're silencing something powerful within. You say yes when you mean no. You stay when you long to go. You smile when you want to scream, and your body knows, your soul knows. They protest. Embracing your rebel is an act of healing. The myth of niceness. We are often taught that being nice is the highest virtue. But niceness, when it means self-erasure, is not a virtue. It's a cage. True kindness comes from strength, not submission. Your rebel doesn't want to hurt others. It wants to stop hurting yourself. It wants boundaries, truth, freedom. It doesn't want war. It wants sovereignty. And that starts with saying, I matter, my voice matters, my path matters. Rebellion as return to the self. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the journey of becoming who you truly are, not who the world told you to be. The inner rebel is your guide on that journey. It doesn't destroy for destruction's sake. It clears space. It burns illusions. It tears down the false to reveal the real. Rebellion, then, is not resistance for its own sake. It's a return, a homecoming, to your untamed, uncaged self. Integration, rebel with a cause. Integration means you don't let the rebel run wild, but you don't exile them either. You listen, you channel, you create. Want to write? Let the rebel speak. Want to change careers? Let the rebel dream. Want to heal? Let the rebel tell the truth you've buried. This isn't about being impulsive. It's about being aligned. You're not here to obey every rule. You're here to live every truth. Final words. Let the fire in inside. There's a fire. It doesn't want to destroy. It wants to illuminate. That fire is your rebel, the part of you that remembers who you were before you were told who to be. Embrace it. Listen to it, because when you do, something powerful happens. You stop living a life of fear and begin living a life of truth, and that is the beginning of freedom. The journey. Inward. If you've made it this far, you've taken a rare and powerful journey into the hidden architecture of the self. We began by asking a question: why do we sabotage the very things we say we want? And we found that the answer lives not in weakness or laziness, but in the depths of the unconscious. Through Freud, we learned that the mind is a battlefield. Id, ego, superego, each voice pulling us in a different direction. Our sabotage is not senseless. It's survival. The ego protecting itself from a future it doesn't yet feel safe in. Through Jung, we discovered the shadow, those rejected parts of ourselves we've buried to fit in, to be loved, to belong. But those parts don't disappear. They become the quiet saboteurs of our dreams. In Dreams and Slips, we saw how the unconscious leaks into our waking life, revealing fears and desires we dare not admit. We confronted the fear of success, not failure, but the transformation success demands. And we stood face to face with the inner rebel, that untamed force within us that wants to burn down the false and make space for the real. So what now? Reflection. From knowing to becoming. Journey doesn't end with knowledge. It begins with integration. You don't need to fight your unconscious. You need to listen to it. You don't need to silence your rebel. You need to understand it. You don't need to escape your shadow. You need to embrace it. Your life isn't meant to be a performance. It's meant to be an honest expression of the whole self: darkness, light, desire, fear, power, and purpose. You are not broken. You are layered. You are not lost. You are buried beneath stories that were never truly yours. And now, it's time to rewrite them. Meet your mind with courage. At Philosopher Mindful, we don't chase perfection. We seek truth. We explore what lies beneath the masks, the habits, the surface. If this episode spoke to you, if it stirred something inside, don't ignore it. Take a walk tonight. Reflect. Journal. Ask yourself, what part of me have I been running from? What success do I fear, and why? What story am I ready to stop telling? And when you're ready, return to your path. Not the one handed to you, but the one you carve out with your own hands. Because the most radical thing you can do in this world isn't to win or to dominate. It's to know yourself fully and to live from that knowing. Thank you for watching Philosopher Mindful. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and most of all, stay real.